All right, so let's dive into cybersecurity fundamentals today.
Sounds good.
And whether you're a tech whiz or just starting out, I think there's something here for everyone as we get back to basics.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to be looking at some core concepts and how security strategies have had to adapt in our digital world.
It really is amazing to see how much the landscape has shifted.
Mhm.
Even the fundamental concepts, the basics, they've taken on new meanings as the threats have become more and more sophisticated.
Yeah, for sure. So first things first, got to understand the foundation of cybersecurity,
Okay.
the CIA triad,
Yeah.
confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Yeah.
Might sound like something out of a spy movie, but it really is the core of any strong security approach.
I like to think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine your personal data is like a recipe, right? Confidentiality is like making sure only you have access to the ingredients list.
Makes sense.
Integrity is making sure nobody messes with the instructions.
Yeah.
And availability means you can always get to that recipe when you need it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
A tasty way to explain it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It applies when we're talking about personal data or protecting an entire organization.
Absolutely. And it's not just about technology, is it?
No.
Human behavior plays a huge role, which is why things like those data privacy regulations are becoming more and more important. They add another layer of accountability.
Yeah, for sure, because just one data breach can really have huge consequences for companies.
Huge, yeah.
Not just in terms of those big fines, but for their reputation as well.
Exactly. So we've got the foundation with that CIA triad, but let's look at the challenges,
Okay.
The threats and vulnerabilities that make cybersecurity so important.
It's like we're building this digital fortress.
Yeah.
And we got to know who the attackers are and those weaknesses they might try to exploit.
Good analogy. And those attackers, they're the threats, right? Things like malware, sneaking in, causing disruption,
Right.
phishing attacks, trying to trick you, or even insider threats from people within the organization.
Oh, those are scary, like having a traitor inside the fortress, right?
Absolutely.
And it seems like the vulnerabilities, those weak points, can be just as varied.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Outdated software is a big one that's like leaving a side door unlocked.
Right.
Then there are weak passwords, careless data handling, and those are vulnerabilities in human behavior.
Ah, okay.
And of course, anyone can fall for a clever phishing scam, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's amazing the damage that neglecting cybersecurity can cause.
It is, yeah.
For businesses, disruptions, financial losses, reputational damage. For individuals, you're looking at identity theft, fraud, complete loss of privacy.
Totally. And the cost of recovery can be immense in terms of both time and resources. So the big question is,
Yeah.
how do we defend ourselves?
Right. What tools and strategies do we even have available?
Yeah, well, let's talk about security controls.
Yeah.
They're kind of like our weapons and defenses in this whole digital battle.
Okay, I like that.
Think of them as layers of protection for our fortress.
Okay.
We've got preventive controls like strong walls and moats to stop those attackers from getting in.
Right.
Firewalls, strong passwords, antivirus software.
Right, those are the frontline defenses.
Exactly.
But what if something does get through?
Well, then we have detective controls.
Right.
They're like guards patrolling the walls, looking for any suspicious activity,
Right.
intrusion detection systems, security logs. They help us spot potential breaches early on.
So prevention is best, but detection's crucial if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And then we've got corrective controls, right?
Right. Think of them as like a rapid response team.
Okay.
Incident response plans, forensic analysis, system recovery procedures.
Gotcha.
They all jump in to minimize the damage and get things back to normal.
Right, like having a well-rehearsed plan in case of a fire,
Exactly.
knowing exactly what to do to contain the damage.
Yeah, and it shows how important a layered security approach is, right? Combining different controls for maximum effectiveness because no single wall is impenetrable.
Right.
So multiple layers make that fortress much more resilient.
Yeah, it's like those layers of security you see at an airport.
Yeah.
Checkpoints and scanners, personnel,
Yeah.
all working together.
It is, yeah.
And speaking of evolution, how have security strategies changed over time? It seems like this constant race to stay ahead of the attackers.
It is. It really is. In the early days, the focus was on that perimeter security, building a strong wall around the network.
Right.
But as networks have become more complex and interconnected, that approach just wasn't enough.
Like relying on just one castle wall, right?
Yeah.
When the enemy figures out how to climb it or tunnel under it.
Exactly. So it evolved into that layered security approach,
Wow.
integrating different controls at various points, but even that is constantly being refined.
Right. So what's the next big thing then? What's coming up for cybersecurity strategies?
One of the most significant developments is zero trust architecture. It's a really fundamental shift in how we think about security, moving away from assuming that anything inside the network is safe.
Zero trust, that's a powerful name. It's almost paranoid, but in a good way.
It is, yeah.
So how does it work?
Instead of assuming trust, zero trust verifies every user, every device, all the time.
Constantly.
It's about eliminating that implicit trust and continuously validating access to resources.
So it's like having multiple checkpoints within the fortress,
Yeah,
never assuming anyone has that automatic clearance.
exactly. And this is becoming even more important as cloud computing and remote work become the norm, you know?
Right, because that traditional network perimeter, it's
Yeah.
disappearing.
Yeah.
People are accessing data from everywhere.
Absolutely. And that's where cloud security comes in. It's all about protecting data, applications, and infrastructure hosted in the cloud,
Okay.
making sure those environments are secure as well.
So it's a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Both the cloud provider and the user need to take steps to secure those environments.
Exactly. And as we rely more and more on the cloud, understanding these concepts becomes just absolutely crucial.
We've covered a lot in this first part.
We have.
From that CIA triad to the evolution of security strategies, we've touched on some really key concepts. So let's take a quick pause here.
Yeah.
Let everything sink in a bit,
Sounds good.
and we'll be back soon to continue our exploration of cybersecurity fundamentals.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into cybersecurity fundamentals.
You know, it feels like we've already journeyed through the core principles, the CIA triad,
Yeah.
explored those threats and vulnerabilities out there, and even talked about how security strategies have evolved. It's been quite a ride.
It has. And it's all laying the groundwork for understanding how to put these concepts into action.
Right.
That's what we'll focus on now.
Okay, that's what I'm really curious about. It's one thing to grasp those ideas, but how do we actually build a strong cybersecurity posture?
Yeah.
What are the practical steps that individuals and organizations need to be taking?
Well, one of the most crucial steps, and it's often overlooked, is fostering a culture of security awareness.
Security awareness.
Yeah.
So it's not just about having the right tools and technologies.
No.
It's about people being, knowledgeable and vigilant about cybersecurity.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Even with the most sophisticated security systems in place, a
Oh.
single careless action, like falling for a phishing scam or using a weak password,
Right.
can completely undermine those defenses.
Yeah.
Humans are often the weakest link.
Like having that state-of-the-art fortress, but someone leaves the back gate open.
Exactly.
So how do we build this security awareness then? Is it about bombarding people with technical jargon and complicated policies?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Effective security awareness training has to be engaging and relevant. It needs to resonate with people's everyday experiences, showing them how cybersecurity impacts their work and their personal lives.
So it's about empowering people with the knowledge and skills they need to identify those threats and respond to them.
Yeah.
Making security everyone's responsibility, not just the IT department's burden.
Exactly. It's about creating that culture where security is ingrained in every aspect of the organization.
Got it.
So let's get into some specifics then. Let's talk about password hygiene.
Password hygiene. Sounds like we're talking about dental care for our digital identities.
You could say that
Okay.
strong, unique passwords, those are essential for protecting those identities.
Right.
It's that first line of defense against unauthorized access.
Okay, and I know we've all heard this a million times, but why are strong passwords so important? What makes a password strong?
Well, a strong password is long, complex, and unpredictable. You want a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, and most importantly, it needs to be unique for every account. No reusing the same password across different platforms.
Okay, so no more password 123 or your pet's name for everything.
Definitely not.
Hot.
It's like using the same key for your house, your car, and your office.
Yeah.
If someone gets a hold of that one key, everything's vulnerable.
That makes perfect sense. Treat each password like a unique key, carefully guarded.
Yeah.
But with so many online accounts, how do we keep track of all these complex passwords? It seems overwhelming.
Well, that's where password managers come in. These tools store and encrypt all your passwords securely.
Okay.
So you only need to remember one master password to access them.
So it's like having a digital vault for all your keys,
Yeah.
protected by one super strong master key.
Exactly.
Okay, that's much more manageable. What about two-factor authentication? Those prompts, we get to enter a code from our phone or email.
Yeah.
How does that fit into the picture?
Well, Two-factor authentication, or 2FA, adds that extra layer of security by requiring two forms of identification. Something you know, like your password, and something you have, like a code sent to your phone or a biometric scan.
So it's like having a double lock on the door.
Exactly.
Even if someone gets one key, they can't get in without the second one.
Precisely. 2FA is becoming increasingly common, and for good reason. It significantly reduces the risk of unauthorized access.
I've definitely noticed more platforms requiring it. It might be a slight inconvenience, but the added security is worth it. What other practical tips can you share for strengthening our defenses?
Well, keeping your software up to date is critical.
Right, those software updates that always seem to pop up at the worst time.
Yeah.
Why are they so important from a security standpoint?
Well, those updates often include security patches that fix known vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Think of it like patching holes in your fortress walls.
Gotcha.
Attackers are actively targeting systems running outdated software because they know those vulnerabilities exist.
So by postponing those updates, we're basically leaving the door open for attackers.
In a way, yes. Staying up to date is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to enhance your security posture. And another simple but crucial step.
Okay.
Be cautious about the links you click and the attachments you open.
Ah, yes. Those tempting clickbait headlines or mysterious email attachments. How do we know what's safe and what's not?
It's all about being a bit skeptical.
Okay.
Be wary of emails from unknown senders or those that seem even slightly suspicious.
Right.
Before clicking a link, hover over it to see the actual URL.
Okay.
And never open attachments unless you're expecting them and trust the source.
So it's like being a digital detective, carefully examining every clue before taking any action.
Exactly. A healthy dose of skepticism is crucial in navigating the digital world safely. Now, shifting gears to organizations.
Okay.
One of the most important steps they can take is implementing a robust cybersecurity framework.
A cybersecurity framework, what exactly does that entail?
It's essentially a structured approach to managing and mitigating cybersecurity risks.
Okay.
Think of it as a blueprint for building that secure digital fortress. It outlines best practices, standards, and guidelines for implementing various security controls and processes.
So there's a standardized way to approach this, not just figuring it out as you go along.
Right. There are widely recognized frameworks like the NIST cybersecurity framework and the ISO 20001 standard that
Okay.
provide organizations with a roadmap for building a comprehensive security program.
It sounds like choosing the right framework is crucial,
It is, yeah.
depending on the size and complexity of the organization, the industry they're in, and their specific needs.
Absolutely. And while a framework provides the structure, data protection is another area that needs specific attention.
Data protection, we've touched on this before, especially in the context of regulations like GDPR.
Yeah.
Why is it so crucial for organizations?
It all boils down to the fact that organizations collect and store vast amounts of sensitive data.
Right.
Customer information, financial records, intellectual property. Protecting this data from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, or any form of compromise is essential.
So it's not just about protecting the organization itself, but also safeguarding the data entrusted to them by their customers, their employees, their partners.
Exactly. Data breaches can have devastating consequences, including financial losses, reputational damage, legal repercussions. Robust data protection measures are a must.
Absolutely. So what are some specific measures organizations can take to ensure data protection?
Encryption is a fundamental technique for
Well-
protecting data.
Encryption. We briefly mentioned this when we were talking about confidentiality.
I did.
Can you remind us how encryption works and why it's so effective?
Of course, encryption scrambles data, making it unreadable without the proper decryption key.
Uh-huh.
It's like putting sensitive information in a locked box that only authorized individuals with the correct key can open.
So it protects data both when it's stored and when it's being transmitted.
Exactly. Encryption can be applied to all sorts of data.
Okay.
Emails, files, databases, even entire hard drives.
It sounds like encryption is a must-have for any organization dealing with sensitive information. What other data protection measures should they consider?
Access controls are another critical piece of the puzzle.
Right, we've touched on access controls as well.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how they contribute to data protection?
Well, access controls are about restricting access to data based on the principle of least privilege.
Yeah.
This means granting individuals access only to the information they absolutely need to perform their job duties.
So it's about creating a hierarchy of access where only authorized personnel can view or modify sensitive data, no unnecessary exposure.
Precisely. This can be implemented through various mechanisms like user accounts, passwords, permissions, multi-factor authentication, and other security protocols.
It sounds like a combination of encryption, access controls, and other security measures creates a strong defense for an organization's valuable data.
Yeah.
But what happens if, despite all these measures, a breach does occur?
Yeah.
How do organizations respond and mitigate the damage?
That's where incident response planning comes in. It's crucial to have a plan in place before a breach happens.
Right. We talked about incident response plans as a type of corrective control.
We did.
Can you delve a bit deeper into why they're so important?
An incident response plan outlines the steps an organization should take in the event of a cybersecurity incident.
Okay.
It defines roles and responsibilities,
Right.
communication protocols, procedures for containing the damage, investigating the root cause, and recovering from the incident.
So it's like a fire drill for cyber attacks, knowing exactly what to do to minimize the impact and get things back on track as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Having a well-rehearsed incident response plan can make a huge difference in how effectively an organization handles a security breach. And it's not just about the technical aspects either.
Right.
The human factor plays a crucial role.
Right, because even with the best technology and plans in place, human error can still happen. How do we address that?
That's where security awareness training comes full circle.
Yep.
Employees need to be aware of the types of threats they might encounter, how to recognize suspicious activity, and what steps to take if they suspect an incident.
So empowering employees to be the first line of defense, recognizing potential threats, and responding appropriately.
Exactly. By fostering a culture of security awareness and providing regular training, organizations can create a workforce that is vigilant and prepared to handle cybersecurity incidents effectively.
This discussion has been incredibly insightful. We've covered so many practical measures that individuals and organizations can take to strengthen their defenses.
We have.
From strong passwords and two-factor authentication to comprehensive cybersecurity frameworks and incident response planning, it's clear that cybersecurity is a multifaceted endeavor.
It is. It's about taking that holistic approach, addressing both technical and human factors. And as technology continues to evolve at an incredible pace, our cybersecurity strategies have to keep up to meet that ever-changing threat landscape.
Let's take a moment to let everything we've discussed so far sink in. We'll be back soon to explore what the future holds for cybersecurity and leave you with some final thoughts. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've explored the foundations of cybersecurity, talked about practical steps to enhance security, and now it's time to look ahead. What's on the horizon for this ever-evolving field?
Well, the future of cybersecurity is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's full of exciting possibilities,
Right.
but also some daunting challenges, you know? That landscape of threats is constantly changing.
Yes.
So staying ahead of the curve is more important than ever.
It feels like we're stepping into a sci-fi world. What are some of those emerging trends and technologies that are going to shape the future of cybersecurity?
One that's already making waves is artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI and cybersecurity, I can see how that's a game changer.
It is.
But it also feels a little unnerving, like, how is AI being used to enhance security?
Imagine having this army of digital detectives constantly patrolling your systems, analyzing tons of data to detect patterns and anomalies that humans might miss.
Okay.
That's the power of AI. It can sift through mountains of information to identify potential threats much faster and more accurately than humans ever could.
So AI is like this superpowered security guard, but couldn't it also be used by attackers
Oh, absolutely.
to create more sophisticated threats?
Yeah, that's the double-edged sword of AI.
Right.
While it can be a powerful tool for defense, it can also be used offensively. Attackers can leverage AI to develop, more potent malware.
Yeah.
Automate phishing attacks.
Oh, wow.
Even impersonate legitimate users with incredible precision.
That's like a constant arms race then.
It is.
Both sides are trying to leverage AI to gain an advantage. How do we stay ahead in that kind of environment?
It's tough. Cybersecurity professionals are going to need to constantly adapt.
Yeah.
Learn to use AI effectively for defense while also anticipating and mitigating those risks posed by AI-powered attacks. It's a continuous game of cat and mouse.
So AI is a big one. What other trends are shaping the future of cybersecurity?
Another major trend is the growing importance of Internet of Things, IoT, security.
The IoT, we're talking smart refrigerators, thermostats, industrial sensors, medical devices.
Oh.
All connected, sharing data. What are the unique security challenges that the IoT presents?
Well, a lot of IoT devices are designed for functionality,
Right.
not necessarily with security as a top priority.
Okay.
They often have limited processing power
Right.
and basic security features, which makes them really vulnerable to exploitation.
Right.
And because so many of these devices are connected to critical infrastructure
Yeah.
or sensitive personal data, the stakes are incredibly high.
So it's not just about protecting data anymore, but ensuring the safety and reliability of these interconnected devices
Exactly.
that are becoming so integral to our lives.
Imagine the chaos if hackers could, disrupt traffic lights,
Oh, yeah.
tamper with medical devices,
Right.
shut down power grids.
It's a bit unsettling to think about the consequences if IoT security isn't taken seriously.
Yeah, it highlights that need for a shift in mindset.
Oh, wow.
Security can't be an afterthought. It needs to be built into these devices from the very beginning, and we need robust protocols for managing and monitoring these vast networks of interconnected devices.
So it's like a massive undertaking,
It is.
but absolutely essential as our world becomes more and more reliant on the IoT.
Absolutely. And there's another development on the horizon that could fundamentally change the cybersecurity landscape: quantum computing.
Quantum computing, now we're really getting into sci-fi territory.
Yeah.
I know it involves harnessing those principles of quantum mechanics to perform really complex calculations.
Yeah.
But how does that relate to cybersecurity?
Well, quantum computers have the potential to crack the encryption algorithms that we rely on right now
Okay.
to secure our data. What would take a classical computer thousands of years to break, a quantum computer could potentially do in hours.
That's wild. So all our current security measures could be useless.
Not right away. Quantum computing is still in its early stages, but it is a threat that we need to start preparing for now. Researchers are already working on developing quantum-resistant encryption algorithms
Right.
to safeguard our data in a post-quantum world.
It's like we're entering this whole new era of cybersecurity where the rules of the game are being rewritten. It's both exciting and a bit terrifying.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into cybersecurity fundamentals,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways you want to leave our listeners with?
I think, first and foremost, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
Whether you're, just browsing the web or a CEO leading a large organization,
Right.
your actions or even your inactions can have a ripple effect.
It's not just about having the latest gadgets or a team of experts.
No.
It's about being aware, making informed decisions, and integrating security into our digital lives.
Exactly. And secondly, cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
The threat landscape is constantly shifting.
It is.
So we need to be adaptable, stay informed, and be willing to constantly learn and evolve our strategies.
It's like that never-ending quest to protect our digital kingdoms from those ever-evolving threats.
Yeah, I like that.
What a great analogy to end on.
Indeed. And finally, I think never forget that cybersecurity is ultimately about people.
Yeah.
It's about understanding human behavior,
Right?
building trust,
Yeah.
and fostering collaboration to create a safer digital world for everyone.
That's a great point to end on. It's been a fascinating exploration of cybersecurity fundamentals.
It has.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights from this deep dive and are ready to embark on your own cybersecurity journey.
Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe in that digital realm.